Cheers.
Cheers.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Spark Spotlight series, in which we highlight members on the platform working on cool and interesting stuff that we feel we can all learn from. Today, to celebrate the first inaugural episode, we have the lovely Grayson Cody Harlow.
Hi, that's me. That's my name.
At Grayson on the platform.
That's right.
And we're here to talk...
I got in early, folks. Just got the first name.
And we're here to talk about... we're here to talk for the second time. We should be pretty transparent about that.
Oh, yeah.
About...
Thankfully, I took notes last time, so we are just going to read our lines from before.
Yeah.
The Internet Demons ate the previous recording.
The previous recording. So if it sounds like we're just kind of like moving through topics we've already thought about a little, it's because literally 2 days ago we recorded the same thing. Yes. But Grayson, we are here to
The great thing is that I forgot everything that I said, so it's still going to be fresh. There's a thing in theater, like the illusion of the first time. Do you know what I mean? Because the performance can start to feel stale after you've performed it so many times. So it's a difficult thing to sort of... You want to
refresh yourself.
You want to make it feel like... Because it's the first time the audience has seen it, so it's the first time you've done it.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so
we're going to achieve the illusion of the first time.
We're leaning in. And we're here, Grayson, to talk about your new novella.
Novella is, I think, accurate.
The accurate term, Georgia Scott and the Sea of Dreams.
Yes.
And just to talk a little bit about like your journey as a creative person and writer, and like the process by which you went about like making this thing, and maybe throw a little sprinkle in there about like how we helped in that process, if at all.
Okay.
And yeah, so I think
it's a very, very vague question. Where do you want me to start? You asked like three different things.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Let's start with let's start at the beginning of this spark.
February 27th, 1996. I was born in the small, sleepy village of Charlottesville.
Well, let's start a little bit, fast forward a little bit.
Fast forward a little bit. All right,
yeah.
My first birthday.
And tell us a little bit about the story of where... So for those of you who don't know, Grayson's been working on writing what was a short story turned into a long...
So let me just tell exactly how we started this current project. So for Halloween this year, we were going to have a bonfire at my house, a nice socially distanced outdoor bonfire, where the COVID just gets eaten up by the flames, that sort of thing. Ended up being the most legitimately scary Halloween of our lives because of the everything about it. It's like a few days, there sure is an election next week.
Yeah.
Anyway, everything turned out fine. And we had this idea inspired by Mary Shelley, who of course wrote Frankenstein, where she and all of her friends got together and said, we're going to have a contest to see who can write the spookiest story. So they're all hanging out in this castle. I'm probably telling this wrong. All hanging out in this castle for the weekend, and they all came up with these stories, and hers clearly won because it's the only one that anybody remembers from this. It was Frankenstein. So we said, we're going to do something like that, have a little Mary Shelley contest at the bonfire of who can write, it wasn't really
It was not competition, just like a fun...
Everyone bring a spooky story with them. Write something or find something
It's just a fun, creative, collaborative time.
Exactly.
Over Halloween.
Exactly. Yeah. So I started mine about a week before. I said, I'm totally... And this was my idea also. I'm totally going to have time to finish this thing. It'll probably be 5,000 words or something. Nice little short story. And I got to 5,000 words and I haven't even finished the first act of this story yet. Got to 10,000 words. It's the day before Halloween. It's man, is this going to happen or not? And I think I was at about 15,000 words on Halloween, and the story was less than halfway done. So it ended up being a lot bigger of a project than I was expecting. And I've just finished it. This past week, we'll finished it. I'm going to add an epilogue, which should be out by the time this video goes up. There will be an epilogue also, and it's completely unedited. Part of this project was also, after Halloween, I said I'm going to just release this in pieces on Bluemastic, totally unedited, commercial free, and just letting people just give me some feedback on it, which was actually incredibly helpful. Even when the feedback was just, I'm reading this and I want to read more of it. That's really enough, I think. At least for me as a writer, just hearing that people are reading the thing that you're writing and are in some way invested in it that's enough motivation, inspiration right there.
Okay. Boom. That was a good recap.
Of our previous conversation.
I promise, listeners, I will get better at getting back into my interview mode as we do this series.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also a fortunate thing that we're having Grayson on as the first guest, because for those of you who don't know, Grayson is not only a fantastic member of Lumastic, he's also one of my dearest friends. We have
So
a
kind.
podcast together called Learning in Public. Well, we have a podcast together.
Yeah. 4 episodes.
4 episodes.
The last one was released like last June.
Well,
I was working at a different place than I'm currently working the last time we had an episode come out. Check it out, though. It's on Spotify. It's pretty funny.
yeah, and so I would like to delve more into what the process has been like for you as somebody who is not a professional writer.
No,
I'm
not paid for my work.
Has not written very many works.
No, mostly short stories. In college,
but has a dream, right? Like that you like to do this thing. You like to write and tell stories and talk about weird bunny aliens and all these things. So tell me more about what that's been like for you to have this ideal of yourself as a person who writes stuff, but that struggles with the actually
doing it.
Yeah,
it's a funny thing because I'm one of these people. I think I was always told in high school that I was a really good writer. That was mainly essays because we weren't allowed to have any fun in high school. So it's just you write a bunch of garbage you don't care about. So I had always kind of felt like I was a good writer. I think I got a perfect score in my writing SAT. It was something ridiculous. What and how did they even grade those? I don't know. So I always felt like I was a really good writer.
I did very poorly on my my entire SAT, but especially the writing.
They're meaningless. Don't worry. They're really stupid. Look at me. Look at the.
Shut up. Keep going.
Where was I? Oh yeah, I'd always kind of been told that I was a good writer, right? But I hadn't really produced anything super creative on my own. I wrote a few short stories in high school. I took some fiction writing classes in college, which were simultaneously very helpful and completely unhelpful in different ways. And then I think, especially after I got out of college, that was the point when I no longer had an outside force telling me, yes, keep going and writing things. So I would start projects. I've started the same novel 4 times, and the inspiration and the motivation just leaves me eventually. And I think, part of it is just not getting any feedback because you're just working on it on your own, and working on something on your own can be a really lonely endeavor. So the thing that has really gotten me through writing this current project and gotten me to the end, and it's not a full-length novel, it's a novella, it's fairly short, it's 30,000 words or something. But the thing that got me through
seems so much to me.
It does. It is. I mean, it is a lot. It's because a short story is usually between 5 to 15,000, something like that. So it is a lot, but it's not a lot compared to a lot of novels which are 100,000 plus.
Right.
But just having people read it and getting feedback has been the most helpful thing. And that's been what I've been missing since taking my fiction writing classes. That's the good thing about fiction writing classes is you have other people that are forced to read your stuff, or at least to say they read your stuff, and you're going to get feedback no matter how unhelpful that feedback is. That's
Wait, so what's the unhelpful thing? You said there is...
so the unhelpful thing is that you're surrounded by people who, like you, have probably been told that they were good writers, regardless of whether they are or are not good writers.
Yeah.
And I think that the quality of the feedback just really varies person to person. So it just depends on what stuff is actually helpful or not. And you just have to sit there and take it. During these workshop sessions where everybody's read your thing, you only get 2 in the semester, right? Because you have to go through everybody. You only get to write 2 or 3 pieces. And there's a day and just everybody rails on you. So the thing that the first thing I wrote my 4th year of college, my first project in that class was this, based on 50s sci-fi B movies. It was about a young woman working at a funeral home who is accidentally kidnapped because a mad scientist thinks that he's kidnapping a corpse, but it ends up being a real person who's asleep. Anyway. I thought it was really funny, and nobody else did at all. But I think, and this speaks to the unhelpful part, is nobody was discussing it as if it was supposed to be a comedy. They were all taking it really seriously. I'm like, no, did you read the thing? Like, there was a psychic wolf in the story. Like, don't take this one seriously. And I actually kept everybody writes a letter in these classes. They write sort of a letter about, their interpretation of the work and where they think you can improve. And all of them were pretty much like, just start over. Like, write something else. My professor, I actually saved her letter from me, and it said, this seems far-fetched and cartoonish to me. And she rails on me for not even that long. Everybody is supposed to get like a full page. She wrote like a paragraph.
Oh my God.
She's basically like, this is not even worth my time to read. And she actually said to me, because this was a class you had to apply to, you had to submit a short story or two for consideration. And she said, if you had submitted this in your application, I would have rejected you. I wouldn't have brought you into the class.
Wow.
So I kept her letter. I have it up on my wall in my room at home as inspiration. And I think from that point, I just said, okay, these people, they don't like silly stories where a bunch of wild stuff happens, Because there was another guy in the class who was writing similar stuff to me, because he was a fellow who's in the Weathermen at UVA.
Cool.
Yeah, he's a hilarious, one of the funniest people I know, and he was getting really similar feedback to me. Like, everybody hated his stuff. I thought it was great because it was just silly and funny, and like that's the kind of stuff I like to read. Something that it's like a fun adventure.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have some substance behind it, and my stuff probably didn't have much substance behind it. It was mainly supposed to be a comedy, but people, at least in writer circles, don't tend to be interested in things like that. They want things that sound like they're from the New Yorker, Stuff very serious where there's no plot. Plot is like a bad word. Did you know this? Plot is like a dirty word in fiction writing. For serious writers, plot is bad. You want story, and story amounts to, I guess, character development is sort of the idea.
Oh,
but
okay.
it usually ends up being boring and a bunch of characters sitting around complaining about their lives. That's my interpretation. Of course, I'm a dullard. I'm not a professional writer. That's just my interpretation. But I'm not into that kind of stuff.
Interesting. So you felt like because we talk like internally at Lumastic a lot about how we help creative people like you break out of the or break away and like have an outlet from the constant incessant no's of like the whole world. Like, when you have an idea, like even this woman that's supposed to be inspiring young fiction writers, right? Like the fact that you straight out of the gate, you write something that you feel really proud of.
Yeah.
You feel like really excited about it, and the response to your work is, this is no.
Yeah,
Like,
just no. It's not a yes and.
It's not a yes
Very
and at all.
anti-improv. Yeah.
Yes.
Not a yes and, just no. Do something else.
Which is so horrible.
I mean, I
because-
think so. But the thing is, you can't even blame them. The issue is that you have, I know it probably sounds like I'm complaining about, these sort of academic types. But the thing is, it's just a different audience. They're, and I think she even said something to me like, we want, like, serious modern fiction in this class, I think she said, have you ever read a story like the one that you wrote? Have you ever seen anything like that in a publication? I was like, no. I thought it'd be fun. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
But that's the thing, is there is an audience for weird genre stuff.
Yeah.
Genre is also a dirty word in the fiction world. Genre, like anything that's horror or sci-fi or fantasy is like, no, get it out of here. Seriously, I'm not joking. It's in the sort of like modern fiction world, people don't like that kind of stuff.
Wow. So this is
there is an
incredible
audience
to
for the
me.
kind of silly stuff that I enjoy. Because I know there's an audience because I like it.
Right.
It's just not just me. There are other people like me out there.
Yeah.
But at the time, I'm trying to sell my stuff to the wrong audience. The cool thing about something like Lumastic is you're putting it out for anyone. Somebody who is similar to you and like
finds your thing and
they'll
says
find
yes,
it.
right?
And says yes. And no, it's not. I know it's not perfect. There's thousands of typographical errors. I'm not worried about that. The point is that I'm putting it out there, and somebody's reading it and say, "Yeah, do something like this. Keep going.
Keep going.
I like
right?
Yeah.
It's about. Oh my gosh, the mantra that I'm sure everybody listening, the 12 people who will listen to this knows, and all that stuff is.
That's your audience, though, Drew.
Yeah, no, exactly, right? Like our small little YouTube channel now. We have this whole ethos mentality about building the culture of Lumastic as sharing progress and not perfection, right? And it is incredible to me. I have so many opinions about our system of how we educate people, but that you paid money, first of all. This is not high school, right?
I paid money for someone to insult me.
You paid money for someone to say, like, hey, the thing that you want to make, you don't make that here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to help you make that
Yeah,
here.
isn't that wild?
That is just so backwards and makes
I
me
think
so
so.
frustrated.
In the end, though, it did end up helping my writing, I think. Because
Well, that's
so
good to know.
for the second project, I don't know, I think I have a real troll mentality at heart. I said, okay, I'm going to give these people what they want. I'm going to write a story where nothing happens. I'm going to show them. And I ended up writing my favorite thing that I've ever written. Writing a story where I tried to make zero plot. It's I mean, and maybe I'll put this on Lumastic or something for people to read too.
Cool.
I wrote a story inspired by my study abroad journey to New Zealand, where I spent a weekend backpacking up into the mountains where we found this natural hot spring and just hung out staring at the stars. And that's pretty much what the story is a couple of people hanging out in a hot spring staring at the stars.
Wow.
And there's a slight supernatural element where they meet.
You had to throw something.
I had to like, magic goat. We're gonna throw a magic goat in this. Ooh, I gotta sneak it in. You know what I mean? but I think that's really what helped. I mean, I didn't, because I think the other thing would be being totally indulgent, right, on this crazy stuff, which is probably what my current thing is. The thing that I put up on Lumastic, Georgia Scott and the
thing where you're supposed to be here to talk about.
I mean, I think it is just like maybe even overindulgence, but indulgence in the stuff that I like, you know.
Yeah.
So
You're leaning into
girl
this,
girl
yeah.
detective, paranormal, psychic rabbits, like yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I really learned something from the show a little restraint with the weird stuff that you want to throw in, and I think it helps with the relatability of it a little bit.
Interesting. Okay, so there is, and I would say there is some merit, right, to going into a situation that is unknown that will challenge you to do something different.
I thought that was really helpful.
Yeah, it's just that when the context of it is you having to say, like,
Right.
I'm going to show them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's less inspired than let me feel like motivated or whatever to do something positive.
I'm
right?
glad
Like,
it happened. I wish it had happened
differently.
Do you know
Yes.
what I mean? Yeah.
And I think about how there might be some people listening to this that are like talented writers wanting to build their skills, whatever, and they might have been in a class
They
like that.
probably had similar.
And they might have been in a
things
class
happen
like
to
that and been like, oh, I'm not a good writer.
Yes.
Right.
What is the saying, the cheesy saying about the goldfish?
What?
If you tell a goldfish to, what is it?
Is it about water?
No, if you tell a goldfish to climb a tree, it'll spend its entire life thinking that it's stupid or something like that.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I'm
yes.
paraphrasing. I don't even remember.
No,
I think it's
know what you're
attributed to
saying.
Albert Einstein. He may or may not. Like everything's attributed to him, right? Like who knows if he actually said it or not.
He never actually spoke any words.
No, that was actually his whole thing. He took a vow of silence, and that's how the gods of space-time granted him his special gifts.
Yeah, but that's exactly true. This mentality of, rather than like we lean into what people like want to do, are intrinsically motivated by, we try to pivot them in directions to feed our own.
You're trying to
interests.
fit them into a box that you already understand instead of go
Instead
ahead
of
do the
nurturing
thing
their
you're doing.
own things, right? Like, and that's something that's like one of the things we built Lumastic to be, was a place for like creative people to really share their work and share how they're learning and progressing and all.
Right
that
now
stuff.
we're growing a bunch of cuboid watermelons.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas let those watermelons grow into whatever shape they want, brother. You know
Yeah,
what I
stop
mean?
putting the box around
Don't
them.
put a box
no
around your
shame,
watermelon.
no shame to square watermelon.
No, that's actually a really cool idea. It was just
just a
example.
good example.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Oh my gosh, there's so many things that I want to pull threads on in here now.
Oh, pull away, man! Look, I got a whole sweater full of this unravel this bad boy. See what we got.
So let's move to like. This is the this is a project outside of a writing class. You did not have people with like, I'd say, similar skills at all.
No,
as
I
you
didn't
were
get.
sharing.
I wasn't getting feedback from other writers.
Right, and
I was getting feedback from Drew. I was getting feedback from our friend Chelsea, who's
Chelsea,
a
yeah.
pianist. What else? She has like a podcast. She does. She
Yeah.
does a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Faith,
Yeah.
like not writers. People who have other interests, but I mean, that makes sense, right? I mean, you shouldn't. I don't think you should necessarily be like, if you're a writer, you shouldn't be writing your stuff only for other writers.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm so glad you said that.
You're someone like Stephen King, where it's like every protagonist that I have has to also be an alcoholic writer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm so glad you said that.
Why would you know, man? I know about being an alcoholic writer. Like all of his stories are like The Shining, Misery. They're all alcoholic writers. It's really funny.
Well, but I'm so glad you brought that up. This idea of you shouldn't. If you're gonna work on your writing, you shouldn't just write for other writers, right? You should write for people who want to be part of your audience, because I feel like that's a big problem with how we try to build communities of practice on the internet right now, and something that there's a lot about trying to solve. Like you're a special case because you didn't have access to the internet until like a month ago, but like
it's been huge.
A lot of people that are on online forums or communities, Slack channels, whatever, for trying to develop their writing, the people that you then share your writing with are not necessarily your audience, right?
Right. There are other writers who are also... Do you remember... Have you seen Midnight in Paris?
No.
I'm so sorry for bringing this up because, Woody Allen's like, we don't like Woody Allen. But in Midnight in Paris, Hemingway is a character in the movie. And there's a scene in the movie where Owen Wilson is trying to get Hemingway to read his work for him, to proofread it. And he says, no, I'm going to paraphrase this too. Like, no, I'm not going to read it. You should never ask another author to read your work because either it'll be terrible and I'll hate it and I'm not going to have anything helpful to say, or it'll be really good and I'll be really jealous and I'll hate it even more.
Okay, that's so interesting. And like, I'm not knocking the idea. Like, I want us to grow to a point where we provide other people that you can write alongside.
Oh, sure. But it's valuable to have just
a diverse perspective and a community around your work that is built around just people who care about supporting your growth.
Isn't that nice?
Like, that is the point, and we're effing that up for a lot of people all across the internet, and that's why people are like afraid to post in a subreddit because they're like, I don't have any clout here, right?
Yeah.
All that stuff.
And you're listening to other people who already have, their preconceived notions, their arbitrary rules that they've decided are the rules for whatever it is you're trying to do, whether it's writing
it
or
is literally
anything.
like a writing class.
Yeah.
It's like your fiction
Here are the
writing
rules.
class.
You have to be following my rules because I said so.
Right, and like...
your thing didn't exactly match what I like to write, so I don't like it.
Right, and I...
Not incredibly helpful.
Yeah, and I think literally just pivoting the culture around, like, helping creators like you to a project-focused, like support system... Again, I'm tooting our own horn because I believe in the thing we're building, but like that's truly what helps. It's not so much that like you're posting in a big group chat of all the writers saying, "Hey, please listen, write, do with my thing." It's you're posting to friends and like random people who are like Dania, who I don't think you've ever met. Oh no,
I met them at the.
Yes, at Keith and Chelsea's engagement,
yes. But I got feedback.
Yeah, it's like a seemingly like
how cool,
like random people, right? But they just care about helping and supporting you. And oh my gosh, this is not something.
I don't know if any of these people have actually even read this stuff. Again, it's the important thing is there are people. You feel as though you are delivering your product to somebody. You have an audience. Like we've talked about before about theater. What do you need for theater? You need two people. You need a performer. You need an audience.
Yes,
and I think that goes for pretty much anything. Definitely for writing. You need an author and you need someone to read it.
Yes.
That's it.
And like and that's what allows you to iterate and start moving forward, whatever. Like I think we talked about before, it's the idea of you will not know at all whether it is good or bad or anything like that. You'll just be stuck in your own head until you have you show your artistic work, whatever it is, to someone else and they say like, wow, good job, right? And here's some points of things I would change or whatever, whatever it is. But you won't you just get stuck in your own head and you don't have that
Here's the other nice
dopamine
thing
rush
about putting it on Lumastic the way that I did it. The good thing is that I wasn't worried about perfection.
Yeah.
Anyone who's working on a creative project, or if you just if you own your own business or something, you can probably speak to this. Is that there will always be more to do on it. It'll never be complete, right? So I could sit, if I wasn't showing my work to anybody, I could sit and perfect it all day long. Just a crazy person just going in and changing little words. There will always be something more to add.
Yeah.
But in this format, it's just, I'm going to put it up there.
Yeah. And because you don't know
in its most raw form. I don't know what I'm going to what parts people are going to like. Like I put it up, I asked, oh yeah, who's your favorite character in the story? And Drew said, I don't really have a favorite character. I just like your dialogue,
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, the dialogue's working. The dialogue's funny. That's good. I'll do more of that. the last part, you haven't finished it yet, right?
No, I have 2 more chapters.
The final chapter section, it's just a page-long conversation with almost no, what I would call like stage directions. I have a very theater like mind, because that's what a lot of my background is in. So when I'm writing, I think of things like that. There's very little like stage directions, like telling what people are doing. It's just the narrator and her mom just having a conversation.
Wow.
I don't know. I think it's funny. So yeah, you find different things to kind of key in on of what people are enjoying so far.
Yeah, it's like it's the idea of, and it's not even like that you are ever like trying to get something perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. It's more like you always just like find another thing to do, but you don't know whether that thing like actually matters.
Right.
And like,
think of all the time you could spend putting into something that like nobody cares about.
Right.
You're putting all that into a paragraph that people like skim over.
Yeah.
And skip. Yeah.
Exactly. And like there's something to be said by you learn from everything, and so like doing the work, blah blah blah, whatever. But in the context of like what makes you feel good as a creative person is not the minutia of like being in the slog. Like the reason I swear all of us work is so that we can put it out.
Oh yeah.
And someone says to us like, I liked that thing.
Yeah, the work
right?
the work in itself has some level of pleasure associated with it also. Like if I didn't enjoy writing, I wouldn't be doing it.
Exactly.
But it all leads up to
the
someone look at this thing that I've done.
Yes.
It's like, okay, so you and I both love baking. Mm-hmm. Baking is a pleasure. Kneading the bread with your hands, every part of it is amazing. It's great. I enjoy all of it. But if you didn't get to, after whatever 5 hours of making this bread, if you didn't get to cut that first slice, put some butter on that bad boy, like the whole thing, you're missing out on something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it won't,
even though the baking is a pleasure, you're missing out on the reason for it in the first place.
Yes, it's that exactly. It's the purpose behind it, right? Like I don't sit down to edit a video or whatever because I just like to edit. If I like to do that, I would just be on Upwork and just like editing whatever person's things.
Right.
It's not and like no knocking to people that enjoy just the process.
Yeah.
But I feel like
that's what I'm saying, because we enjoyed the process too.
Yeah.
But it all leads up. It culminates.
It culminates in something, and I think that is so common throughout like literally any like entrepreneurs, makers, writers, artists, like designers, everything. That's the work we do, right?
Everything's sort of theater when you think about it.
Yeah, it's to share something.
You want somebody to look at the thing that you've made.
Yes. Yeah, because it's art. Everything.
Everything's art. Man.
Everything is art.
I promise we're not high when
we're high on ginger tea.
Everything's art. Man. Can I just say also, this has it's like marmalade. It has like little bits of the rind in it.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. It's amazing.
It's yummy, right? Okay, great.
Love having to chew on tea.
All right.
Fragrant.
As we recap this conversation, right? We're at about the half-hour mark.
Oh yeah.
I just want to ask you to talk about what you would say, what you've learned, I guess, throughout this project, and then by extension, what you would say you've learned, right, so that other people can like pick it up from you. And then what's your next thing? What's the next thing you're gonna tackle?
Okay. I've told you this before, so this is going to be, you've heard this, but the audience maybe hasn't. So, my actual favorite Stephen King book is not one of his novels. It's a book called On Writing that he wrote about writing. It's an incredibly useful resource. If you're a writer, I really can't recommend it enough. If you have On Writing and you have Strunk and White's Elements of Style, that's all you need, brother. But he talks a lot about the idea of having a muse in this book. And how, you and I, regular people, I sit down to write. I'm a green writer. I don't really know a lot yet. I haven't developed my skills. So I sit down in front of my keyboard or my typewriter if I'm a hipster, and where's my inspiration? Nothing's coming. Where is my muse? I don't have anything.
You don't feel creative,
right? Where does my inspiration come from? And his suggestion, and what I mean, even my high school English teachers, hi Miss Shiflett, you were an inspiration to me. My high school English teacher told me is, when you sit down, you just write something. Write something. Doesn't matter. She said, if all you can do is write the word shit 1,000 times over and over and over, do it. You have to be putting something down on paper because this is the only way that you ever will be able to talk to your muse.
Wow. Is through the work.
Well, I can't promise you when your inspiration is going to come, right? But I can make sure that I am always sitting down at my laptop from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., however much time you happen to have. I can promise that I will be there. So when the time is right and the inspiration arrives, I'm there and I'm ready.
Wow.
So that to me is the most helpful thing, and having an audience to read your stuff as you go. That's the thing that's kept me just chugging along and writing these things, just to be present and be ready for when the inspiration comes.
Wow.
Yeah. The like I said, this should go up tomorrow or something like that. Yeah. So the final epilogue to my novella will be up by then. After that, the next thing I'm going to work on is a full-length fantasy novel that I've had stewing in my brain for a very long time.
Wow.
I'm going to put it down on paper because I've tried it before, but I just haven't had that. I haven't had an audience there, you know, and now, you know, I think the time is right. It's a new year. Yeah, gonna crank this thing out, and I'm gonna hopefully have some people to say, "Hey, keep going. You're right. We like that you're writing stuff, and we're here for it."
Oh, you will definitely have that community behind you, Grayson,
so.
And I'm very excited for the updates to start coming for whatever you decide to entitle the hashtag no portals, hashtag no orphans.
My working title. Yeah, I have a thing. I don't like portal stories, and I don't like that every work of fiction has to be about orphans for some reason. So I'm attempting to not have a portal story like Narnia. I think the working title will be like the Queen of the Wilderness or something. That sounds ominous, doesn't it? Yeah,
that sounds pretty good.
We'll call it that for now.
And I love that you use the term working title, because that's the thing that we're gonna transition when you make a new Spark, that it says like title, description, and then we're adding topics, right? And so instead of title, it's gonna be working title to make you feel like, okay, this really is something that I can mold and craft and change, and like it's gonna iterate over time, and this is really my play space. So Grayson, that sounds awesome. We look forward to following your journey. If you want to follow Grayson on Lumastic, it's at Grayson.
Yes, and please, if you have the time, please read.
Please
read the weird paranormal girl detective story that I wrote. I think it's a lot of fun.
Georgia Scott and the Sea of Dreams. Also, a couple of asks that I'm going to throw in to the community for Grayson is he has mentioned to me that he wants to work on a website to host the completed novella. So if you have any like tips, tricks, things that you want to shout out to him, definitely leave that in comment on one of his posts or whatever. And then the other thing is, if you're a designer or graphic artist, whatever, and you want to take a stab at making a book cover for Georgia Scott and the Sea of Dreams, I think that would be super cool to see people's takes on.
I really think if there's an artist out there who made fan art about my work, that would warm my heart in the most wonderful way.
Well, Grayson, thank you again for being the
having me.
First episode of the Spark Spotlight. Please check out Georgia Scott and the Sea of Dreams. The link will be down in the description. Grayson, thanks for being here.
Anytime.
All right. Until next time, everyone. Bye.
See you soon.